Three, two, one. So, hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. It has been a very long time. I have been struggling to come on here. I'll just be honest with you. I've been struggling to come on YouTube for ages, just because I was sort of trying to do this whole like high training and sort of execute and then come back online and show, hey, I went into the dark mode and I sort of like did really well. This was what I did. But we've had worlds that's panned out, and I was sort of thinking about how do I come back on YouTube, and I thought actually let me come up with a series. So very quickly, introduction. My name's Abdul Mojeed. I am a third place medalist at IPF Worlds, albeit a very long time ago. I currently squat 357 kilos. I bench 220. It's been a while. And then I deadlift 382.5. But I'm currently in a phase of self-coaching myself, and I figured, you know what, actually make a lot of sense. I actually show you guys what I'm currently implementing in my program, how I'm structuring my training and my training days, and what I'm currently aiming for leading up to British. So this is going to be as open as I can get with my training, where I'll basically show you my whole program, and I'll show you and be very honest in the sense of I'm learning about coaching and concepts, and I have some ideas in my head. I'm seeing how to implement that, learning about coaching terminologies and training for myself, but also use that to teach you. So as you learn and as I learn, you learn in the same sense. So I'll be going through some basic terminologies, and this will be a series where I sort of scale up, and then hopefully you have questions and people enjoy the series. And if you have any questions, message me. I'll answer them in the videos. But without spending too much time, let's cue in the presentation and see how this first video goes. So, welcome to the programming section, or basically where I'm going to be running through a very small powerlifting presentation slide. Now, like the name just suggests, this is a powerlifting guide for dummies, aka me being the dummy in this situation, and I'm sort of using myself as a case study example as I learn to handle self-coaching myself, and I've sort of done that from the beginning of the year, and I've implemented programs which I ran into Worlds, and then I'm sort of doing another section again leading up to British. I've learned during that period, and a lot of it has been self-learning and making mistakes and adjusting from that. But really, I think by using myself as a case study and showing you what I'm currently implementing on program, and as over the next few months, as my knowledge grows and my experience grows with programming, I can sort of guide you through that process. And not only am I just coming from a coaching standpoint in the sense of, hey, this is a program I've written for my lift and they're going to try and follow it, and then these are the concepts I'm applying. I'm doing this on myself. So in a sense, I can basically write the program out, explain what my aims are or what I'm aiming to achieve with the program and the numbers and the way I've structured it, and also show you the results in my training, while also giving you a full understanding of the variables I'm currently working with and what I'm doing in order to facilitate or amend that program if need be when I'm training, or how I've maintained it and what I needed to adjust externally in order to maintain the intensity or the volume and keep on top of everything, so I can land in a very successful, let's say week 4 or final week, where I can gauge whether or not the program was successful or the microcycle was successful. So I will be throwing terminologies out there. Now, it's very basic, and please, because I am sort of learning, if I do use a term and it's incorrect, feel free to comment, feel free to give me a redefinition of it, or give me your perspective understanding of the terminology itself. Again, I have trained for 9 years as a powerlifter, but majority of my coaching has primarily come from this year. And a lot of it I've sort of learned from my previous coach, who did a phenomenal job and got me to a stage where I was able to enjoy powerlifting and keep on progressing, and also have the ability to understand basic concepts I can take on programming myself. But overall, let's see how this goes. I am still learning, so it's a guide for dummies, aka me being a dummy, and you, if you're watching this, also being a dummy, and we're sort of like learning about powerlifting together, and I'll show you the real-time implementation of what we're covering. And that's pretty much what it is. So very simply, it would be nice to give you an overview of the block I am currently running. I am roughly about 3 months out from British, and I've actually done a very simple comparison here. I did the block I've got a block where I ran to Worlds, which is roughly on this page, roughly around the same period, give or take. And then I've got the block I'm currently trying to run now, and I'm leading to British, and I might whether or not it's going to be in this video or the next video, I will explain the key differences between both blocks, and then how I'm hoping that it pans out to you, hopefully being stronger on the platform. So very quickly, it's probably nicer for me to start with what my goals are for this block. So you can see I've got my pre-block notes from World itself. I've already ran block 1 and block 2. In theory, this would be the macro cycle, quote unquote. So block 1 and block 2 was figured out, and there were a few things I wanted to try. It was on a hypertrophy focused block, aka a little bit of more volume, but really dialing back the intensity to give my body the chance to recover and heal up properly. While this is the main block where I'm really hoping to push intensity up and really start to see increase in strength leading up to British. And all my numbers are going to be here, or what I'm aiming for, and I'll also show you how I'm progressing the top sets, back offs, whether or not I hit the numbers. You get to follow the whole progress and see whether or not what I'm doing is working, whether it's chatting shit or whether there's better ways to do it. Rather than just, because I've had quite a few people come up to me and ask about coaching, and I have no experience coaching people in powerlifting. I'm pretty much all my coaching is specific to myself, and I would like to show my process, grow with that process, and then expand into a framework that can be applicable to a group of people or multiple sets of people. But that's further down the line. I'm not going to try and launch a coaching business like every other powerlifter suddenly does. I'll give everything for free and show you the whole process, everything for free over the next few weeks or months. And then if I scale up and I grow to a level where it's applicable to more than myself and a large group of people and it works, then absolutely, why not? So let's cover it very simply. I'm roughly about 3 months out from British Nationals, which roughly means I have about 3 blocks before. So block 5 will pretty much be where we're peaking. I haven't written that yet, but I do have a rough idea as to what I want to achieve. A lot of that will really depend on the things I'm implementing this block and if they go successful. So very quickly, the goal for this block is to hit 325 kilos for top set of 3 on squats, which is only 5 kilos below my best triple, but hopefully hit a much lower RPE. On bench is to triple 300, which will match my best triple on bench, hopefully at a much lower RPE, while also implementing some other things on my secondary there that should hopefully play out long term. And then 355 triple on deadlift for conventional. Now I've swapped from sumo to conventional, which is a big change between my Worlds block and my British Nationals one. And I might, hopefully in later videos, get the chance to talk about what I did in order to facilitate that conversion and what I'm going to be doing to hopefully push strength or learn to do as we go over the next few weeks and months. So those are my goals for this block. I am currently on week 1. So in the block before, very quickly, I think I had a bit of disruption, but one of the key things I would like to highlight was just I was able to squat for pause low bar. So I was pushing pause low bar for my primary session actually, and I was able to push that to a 300 kilo for a triple, which was very good. Bench press was nothing special, it was 200 for a double. Actually, I missed the 3rd rep, and hopefully I can rectify that. So that's why I'm capping myself to 200 for this block, with the hope that I can actually rectify that with a few changes I've made in the block 3 of British Nationals prep. And then conventional deadlift was a 340 triple, which was supposed to be for cell 4. But again, fatigue management just didn't pan out well throughout the week, just due to this massive day of travel just before a very key SBD day. But it is what it is. There are a lot of externals that were affecting this previous block that hopefully should be rectified this block right now. So those are my goals. And very quickly, I will then hop on to, rather than like going around with numbers and what I am doing on top sets and back offs, because I'll sort of cover that as we go along this whole series of programming for dummies thing. Let's hop into the PowerPoint presentation and then let's see what goes. So I will just start from the beginning. Ignore the clown image. I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool. So one of the key fundamentals. Now, if you are getting into self-programming, or you are programming yourself, or looking at a free program online and you're trying to gauge how you want to be training and what are the 2 main variables that are going to drive your increase in strength, it's going to be intensity and volumes. There are other things that you can maybe scale up from, accessory selection, muscle mass and things like that, but fundamentally the 2 main variables you can adjust in the program are going to be the volume you're doing, and volume very simply correlates to the total amount of work performed. Now this can be calculated by just normal total sets done throughout the week. So if you're benching, how many sets of actual bench are you doing throughout the week, and you can calculate that in order to see how much volume you're doing. tonnage, which you hear people say quite a lot, which will be sets times reps times weight. And stress index is another one that comes up from Mike to share, where it's more of a priority towards weighting the sets that you've done throughout the week. So if you're doing like a 4x3 with close to 90% of your weight, that would have a very, very high stress index in comparison to do like a 4x10 of very, very low weight, where in well and truly, if you're doing 4x10 of 100 kilos, that stress will not compare anywhere close to doing 4x4 with 190 kilos, even though one has a lot more volume than the other one. So there are multiple ways to calculate volume, and I think for simplicity in this program, or in the way I program right now, I look at set times reps times weight. But well and truly, I'm sort of finding that to not be a very reliable way of tracking volume, and I'm probably going to start biasing more towards a total sets point of view. But then really the volume, because of my current situation and where I'm programming now for nationals in 3 months, realistically speaking, I'm in a stage where I'm sort of an advanced powerlifter, where volume is good, but mostly for me it will correlate to work capacity and improving that as I go up in a weight class and my leverage exchange and my heart just is under more stress. Really, intensity is one of the areas where I'm really trying to focus on, especially in comparison from my Worlds prep to my British Nationals prep. I want to say when I started learning how to program, I was very much of volume focused, and I was very much of the set times reps times weight, trying to drive that volume up and hope for the adaptations to carry over to strength. But realistically speaking, as a 120 lifter, and again, myself is going to be the case study for majority of this, I already have enough muscle mass, even though I'm nowhere close. Like, I know I weighed 116 kilos on the competition day, but as soon as I finished competing and stepped on the scales, I'll literally upload the image and show you. I weighed 113 point something. So there's still a lot of muscle mass and weight I can gain, but as of right now, even with my current size, muscle maturity and muscle density is comparable to most 120s on that stage. So I don't think the problem is I need more volume as of right now. In fact, I have enough muscle mass. The problem probably, I feel like, if I'm going to look at anything that I did in the Worlds prep, bear in mind, which was a very successful prep because I squatted 357, matched my best bench in a very, very long time. And also deadlifts, the rest went on my side, but again, we've fixed that. I think an intensity focus would be good, because I think really now what I need to do is learn how to express my strength with the amount of muscle mass I have. So very quickly, volume is tonnage, and it's more of a hypertrophy focused way of programming. Mostly drives physiological adaptations, and then it normally correlates to an increase in the cross-sectional area of the muscle mass, and then which hopefully long-term relates to an increase in strength. So the bigger you are, the bigger the muscle fiber or tissue is, the more force it can generate long-term. While intensity refers to how heavy the weight is relative to your 1 rep max, and this normally drives neurological adaptations. The easiest way to explain this is in bodybuilding terms. A lot of skinny kids will be way stronger than bodybuilders in the gym. I've seen so many 74 kilo kids who are probably 18, 19, benching 160, 150, while I've seen bodybuilders maxed out in terms of muscle mass, massive shoulders, massive traps, can barely struggle. They're benching 140, 130 for reps, but they can't express that top end on strength unless they've trained it. Now, this is just due to intensity. The skinnier lifter has trained in a higher percentage, let's say, of their 1 rep max, and learned how to adapt their body to be able to exert the most amount of force in a simple repetition, which frankly speaking is what powerlifting is. We're not looking for the ability to express our strength over multiple reps and take a 30 kilo dumbbell and rep it out, or 40 kilo dumbbell and rep it out. What we really want to do is, can I take that 50 kilo dumbbell and do 1 rep with it? And can I do it really well? And then can I slowly increase that 1 rep number over time? Now, there will be a balance between volume and intensity, and hopefully I've done a decent job as explaining what the difference is between both of them. But intensity is mostly what you call your strength work, where you're looking to adapt your muscle mass that you currently have with your body in order to express its true potential in generating power or force, while volume would be mostly what you'd consider your hypertrophy or bodybuilding work, which will facilitate for a stronger foundation long term and give you the ability to generate more force as you adapt your body in order to use those fibers that you've gained. Volume is very, very important for beginning powerlifters to intermediate, and frankly speaking, I'll probably maybe show how I've actually used probably for advanced in a certain sense, because depending on how you leverage for squat, if you're trying to push high intensities on squats, for example, for myself, one thing I did for World's Prep was, rather than focus so much on pushing high intensities on the squat itself, I sort of ran a 3-day squat split, but where my day 1 and day 2 were squat based. So it was like actually only day 1 was really like primary squat day where all the high intensities was there, and then the second day was just a supplementary SSB day with very light pulse work, and then the third day was not a barbell movement but was just pure leg accessories. And honestly, that took my squat from like a 335, 340 squat all the way into the 350s, and he was just pushing that volume. And literally when people saw me, they were like, yo, your legs look massive. And that was just because I was basically training legs 3 times a day, and really trying to maximize that hypertrophy aspect of training. So that's intensity and that's volume. Right, so hopefully that's enough waffling for the first video. Honestly, I kept on talking for another like 20-30 minutes and lost the track of time, but I'll keep it simple on just focusing on the difference between intensity and volume. And then in the next video, I'll probably go into more details as to what I implemented for that third day of squat I was talking about, how I was able to add more volume without necessarily taxing my whole body by trying to do that by squats, and how I believe that supplemented or supported my squat gains that I saw IPF Worlds. And then also we'll probably potentially talk about the fundamentals of a program, what key things you want to be looking at in terms of deloads, frequency, days of training, and then hypertrophy versus strength focus. And then also, if you have any questions from what you've seen so far, please drop me a DM so I can have more focus and provide content that not only I'm currently learning, I'm interested in, but also things that you're interested in, and then that we can sort of learn together, which is the whole point of this, because I will be programming myself up to British with the help of reaching out. So bear in mind, I'm not doing this by myself. None of this is knowledge I've just spawned out of my brain by myself. This is from talking with other coaches. This is from learning with other people. There's loads of it, content on social media, and I really appreciate the chats I have with other coaches, because I can pick their brains and learn things from them that I can also implement in my own programming. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.